Now, based on what happened on Saturday and the incumbency disadvantage, which you made reference to the last time we spoke about the baggage of this administration, which Dr. Bawumia cannot also extricate himself from, even if he came in as an assistant to the president. Will the candidature of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia help the MPP break the eight?
Well, it depends on how he fights hard to extricate himself from the baggages of this particular administration. The party met and they decided to give him the nod to lead the party and to lead it as a flag bearer. There are things that the Constitution talk about, when you talk about the role of the vice president. Essentially, you are expected to be assisting the president. But typical of many politicians, even though they know their mandates and they know the limitations that are placed on their mandates, they are the ones who go about making all manner of promises. So members of parliament would make all manner of promises, and then when they are subjected to strict proof, they will tell you that I'm not supposed to be doing X, Y, Z. Meanwhile, in the lead up to your elections and your electioneering campaign, you promised heaven. So in the lead up to the election that brought the MPP into office, the vice presidential aspirant or the running mate to President Akufo-Addo himself, through series of lecture series, also made a lot of promises to the good people of Ghana. Now, how he is able to tell Ghanaians that the promises he's made have been redeemed will be critical. And then also, for me, it's not about all the talkings that do not reflect in the lives of the people. How anybody is able to convince Ghanaians that the living standards of Ghanaians are better today than they used to be prior to 2016 will be crucial. And I do not want any politician to tell me that things are better. Okay? You do not understand my problems better than myself. And so where there is good governance, listen, I've always defined good governance as being the effective and efficient management of scarce resources such that it translates into developmental outcomes that can be tangibly reflected in the lives of the people. And so if you have governed well, I should be able to tell you that things are okay for me. That was the reason why J. Kufuor went about the cliche saying that she was sitting in Natuaba. Okay, so it is up to Ghanaians to decide whether things are better today than they were prior to the coming into office of the MPP. If things are better today, Ghanaians will speak. And that would speak to the candidature of the success or the electoral fortunes of Dr. Bawumia. And it's up to him to also explain how he believes that things are better for all Ghanaians today than they used to be in time past, and how he is able to convince all of us to accept that it's an uphill task that I believe is set for him. How he is able to tell us the kinds of things that are going to be done tomorrow, which he cannot do today, and how that sounds convincing to us, presents also another uphill task for him. And then also in my own analysis of situations, it is difficult. But look at it. The history of electoral politics of Ghana show in my analysis that anyone who went out of his way after being elected as a flag bearer of a political party, who went out of his way to become, president, garnered a certain percentage of vote in his own internal party contestation. And I'm looking at people getting 80 to 90%. I mean, when they garnered those votes, then they went out of their way to become president. But it was difficult. I realized that Dr. Bawumia had 61%. And if I disaggregate, okay, you can see the contribution of the President Akufo-Addo and the government machinery to that, the vote 61% that was garnered. If you do the disaggregation, you are likely to see, I mean, to be fair, it should be at the minimum 30%.
30%.
Okay. So you can say no. At the minimum, sorry, 50%. So 50% of the 60%.
That
okay.
Dr. Bawumia got?
No. 50% of the 60% I'm arguing would have emanated from the support given by the machinery government to
the Dr. Bawumia.
So then you can say that then he brought on board 50% also of the 61%. And with that kind of vote that you have, then it tells you that your own party base, it appears that you do not have much support even among your own party base. And that was why I was thinking that when he was elected, he would have spent much time in talking about rallying people behind him, talking about genuine reconciliation, talking about unity. But unfortunately, he went on a certain tangent that, I mean, a long speech. I admit that people were saying that he'd been critiqued, that he wasn't being heard much on policy, and so he wanted to use that opportunity to be talking about what he could do and then all the policy prescriptions. But I thought that he could have used that time to talk about unity and the need for him, for all to rally behind him. He didn't do that. And so my point is that the election of Dr. Bawumia as the flag bearer of the MPP it presents a certain uphill task in the party's attempt to break the 8. I'm not saying it cannot be done, but it is difficult, particularly being able to tout your own. You know, you saw what Gyampo did. He touted his own track record. I do not depend on the states. I employ over 7,000 people, and I pay them every month. I've opened these companies, I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. He was touting his own track record. So Dr. Bawumia must also be touting his own track record in a manner that sounds convincing to Ghanaians. Okay, that is number one. Number two, he must be able to tell us that, look, there are things that I cannot do today. Even though I promised I was going to do them, I cannot do today. But tomorrow, if you give me the mandate, I will do them. If that sounds convincing. And then finally, what is for me the most important thing is how he is able to tell us that upon our own sober reflection and introspection into our living conditions, we think that things are better today than things were yesterday. And you see, that one, it is something I am passionate about. The essence of governance is to solve problems. The essence of governance is not to dance around problems and to proffer explanations to why the problems exist. If you read, I told you I'm teaching Plato's conception of the philosopher king. If you read that, Plato essentially is saying that governance is too serious a business to be left into the hands of anybody. If you look at the selection process of the philosopher king, okay, and the kinds of things that he's supposed to be doing, the standards are high. And so I am thinking that if Ghanaians would subject our leaders to strict proof in maintaining certain standards, it's not about talking about what you can do. It's about solving problems. Okay, but if you compare, let me be blunt, and I want to do that. You see, if you compare what was done previously, okay, to what is being done now, we've been shortchanged as a people. We had a lot of confidence. Look, in the history of electoral politics in Ghana, no political party has benefited for over 1 million votes difference in winning. It's never happened. Okay? It tells you the level of trust, the confidence that we had, in this current regime. And one of the factors that brought about the level of trust and confidence was the kind of lectures that Vice President Bawumia gave. Yeah. Okay, it's suiting our soul, and we felt that President Mahama was that incompetent. Yeah. Okay, but it appears that this regime is super incompetent compared to the Mahama regime. And I say this bluntly as it is, because, for the first time, you work and you get money in your hands, and you don't know whether to keep the money under your bed, like Cecilia Dapa, or you should go and dig somewhere, in your bedroom, and because you are not trusting the banking system. My colleague here, I think he spoke so well, as a gentleman, but some of the things that he said, I disagree. The banking sector cleanup was done with hatred and envy, and it was done with super incompetence. Yes. Okay, you don't spend more to achieve little. Yes. Okay, you talk about the refrain, COVID, and Russian-Ukraine war, without talking about the fact that there is corruption. You see, the first time that somebody like Professor Gyampo, who taught me, who previously was seen as heading an organization, CDD, that people felt that was in bed with the MP. The first time I heard him speak about corruption and the record of President Akufo-Addo, my heart started beating. He said, as for President Akufo-Addo and his government, their track record in fighting corruption is in tatters. And I said, hey, this man, what are you saying? Just recently, I think this week, Ishmael Yamson rated President Akufo-Addo's government that Bawumia is among 4 over 10 in the fighting against corruption. And these are some of the things going on. Economic mismanagement. Clearly, you see, like I said, if power is entrusted in you, see, very soon it will be difficult for politicians, because we are willing to preach some of these things. And yesterday when I was teaching my students, I told them, I'm not interested in your A or C or your F that you get, but I'm teaching you in the hope that tomorrow you have policy maker. And when you get there, you implement some of the things that you have taught. Okay? It is not about talking. It's about improvement in the physical quality of life of the people. And I get super annoyed when things are hard, and then a politician sits and says that things are okay. How dare you tell me about my own living conditions? You do not understand my living conditions more than myself. And so, for politicians to say that things have been done right, and so they should be given the nod to go on, you should take a sample survey of the responses of the ordinary people and let them speak. Don't tell me this budget that they are going to be reading. They are going to be touting macroeconomic nonsense that do not reflect into it do not reflect in the lives tangibly, of the people. And I'm saying that, look, we cannot continue on that tangent as a people, where you sit and you are listening to budget being read, and government is starting certain achievements, and they have given jobs. Every day I get people sending me CVs, asking me whether we can find jobs, and I'm saying, but the government has provided a lot of jobs. Why are you not getting into that opening? We've done this, we've done factories, we've done dams, we've done all these things. The kinds of achievements that our politicians are touting, let me repeat, they are like the religious miracles performed on crusade grounds by fake pastors. Okay. Oftentimes, they are telling you that we healed this man, and he was crippled, and then he's being healed. And nobody in the area, in the community, knows that cripple. Nobody knows them. Important. Nobody knows them. And these are the kinds of achievements that some politicians tout. I don't settle for that. I speak for Ghana. I speak for what is right. I am interested. We all cannot be traveling to be working in other people's countries. We want to stay in Ghana, and we want Ghana to be a better place. So let politicians be candid in admitting, look, we have not done well. If you give us another mandate, we think that we are going to be doing X, Y, Z. That appeals to me. But if you tout achievements that, in my view, do not tangibly reflect in my life, I get annoyed.
Well, but you see, if you, and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia talking about the hardship of the people, and then also saying he identifies with that without necessarily detailing that element of absolute responsibility, is where the concern has been raised. But I want to take you back with that reference you made about the number of votes Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia got. I want to understand that point you made about disaggregating the data.
No, what I'm saying is that
how much of an impact
there is no doubt.
made.
Listen,
because
there's no doubt.
In previous instances, the first times that the at least the first attempt to be elected as presidential candidate in previous instances by persons who have led the NPP, J. Kufuor, Nana Akufo-Addo, and in this case Bawumia. J. Kufuor's first attempt, 51.9% in the 2000.
That was his second attempt.
And then in Nana Akufo-Addo, 47%
on his second attempt.
And this is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, 61.4% on his first attempt. So, are you saying that his impact as his personality did not have so much significance on the outcome of this 61.4% that he got?
No, I've not said that. And on this particular program or platform, I, at one point in time, spoke about the fact that I am reliably informed about his own campaign strategy that reached out to people unreached, people who hitherto would have described as unreached. I mean, the fact that he was able to get Dambuchi, of all people, to fully declare support for him, the Kwabena Japons and all that, for me, was commendable. But what I'm saying is that there's no doubt that he was the regime's candidate. And being the regime's candidate, the machinations and the strategies and the inducement that all went into this also played a significant role. And if you want to disaggregate the 61%, I am saying that to be charitable, it could be 50-50. And so if you are coming into such an election and you had 61% and your contribution is just 50% of 61%, then it means that even your own party, you are not getting much of the support base. And I'm not saying that because of that, his party is going to abandon him. I'm saying that he could have used the first opportunity he had to harp more on the need for the party to rally behind him, to bring all on board. Look, what happened on TV and we saw, they were just merely for the cameras.
You think so?
If you speak, I mean, please, without research, I don't feed. They were merely for the cameras. And so more work will have to be done to make sure that within his own party, he's brought all on board. And if he does that, then he has the uphill task of, number one, telling us that about his convincing us about his own track record. Number two, telling us that there are things that are there, there are challenges that are there today. I'm not fixing those challenges, but give me the mandate tomorrow and I'll fix it. If that is convincing to Ghanaians, we'll listen. And then the third one is how he's able to convince me and the ordinary people that, look, things are better today than they used to be yesterday. Because, for me, that is the crux of the matter. That's the reason why we all teamed up and supported the bid of President Akufo-Addo and Vice President Bawumia to get into election, to be elected in the 2016, election with that kind of monumental support of the people. If that hasn't been able to be done, there should be an explanation to us. If it convinces us, the ordinary people, and the ordinary people wants to give him, they want to trust him. But you see, the current regime itself suffers from severe trust deficit. There's no trust. The current regime, generally, it suffers from. So if you see anybody as part of the regime, you don't trust the person. Suffers from severe trust deficit. And so, how are they going to build or rebuild public trust in them, such that whatever they tell us, we tend to agree? If you look at President Mahama now, he's having like a field day. I mean, everything and it's painful. You are going to have voices and videos being showed, voices being played about things that were promised and you juxtapose it with things that are happening now, and it becomes difficult. So, my brother, I cherish the role you play. You spoke nicely. Dr. Bawumia is a fine gentleman and all that, but you see the task ahead is difficult.
Respondent,
yeah,
I'm
task,
sure my response will provide
the
clarity.
task ahead is difficult, and I wish you guys well as you try to surmount that task.
Professor Gyampo, thank you very much. And